Dear students, welcome you all to today's lesson. For the next few weeks, we are going to talk about narration or speech. So, first of all, we need to know some basic points about narration or speech before we start discussing narration change, because to change the narration correctly we need to know a few basic points. So in the next few classes I will discuss those basic points. Okay, so let's start. So narration or speech. So first of all, the question is, what is narration or speech? So narration or speech is the art of reporting the words of a speaker. Okay, so narration or speech is the art of reporting the words of a speaker. That means when if someone says something to me and later I am telling those exact words of the speaker to another person, or I am telling his words in my own words to another person, that particular way is called narration or speech. Okay, so then now we know what is narration. Now next important point is narration is of two types. Okay, there are two types of speech and narration. Two types. The first one is direct narration and the second one is indirect or reported speech. It is called indirect or reported. Reported, it is actually popular as reported speech. Most of the people call it reported speech. So direct speech and indirect or reported speech. So direct speech is that speech that is reporting the exact words of a speaker. When I report the exact words of a speaker to another person, that is direct speech. Okay, without changing a single word as the speaker said. And indirect narration or reported speech, you can easily guess that this is exactly the opposite. This is exactly the opposite of the direct speech. That means reporting the words of a speaker in a reporter's own words. That means when I'm reporting the speaker's words to another person, if I change the words in my own words, into my own way, if I express the words of the original words of the speaker, then it is reported or indirect speech. So now we know there are two kinds of speeches on narration. So let's see two examples to clear the idea. Suppose in the first sentence she said, I saw him. This is direct. So how can we know that this is direct? Actually, when in writing form or in written form, it is easy to actually identify the direct speech from the indirect speech, because we will always get these commas which are called inverted commas. Okay, or quotation marks are also they are called. So if we find these quotation marks or inverted commas in a sentence, okay, or around a sentence, then we will definitely call it a direct speech, because when I am quoting someone's exact words as they said it, so we always use inverted commas around those words, around those sentences. So in the next sentence she said that she had seen him. So see that the last sentence, the former sentence was I saw him. These are the exact words of the speaker, but in this sentence that she had seen him, the speaker has changed the words into her own words. Okay, so this is, that's very indirect. Okay, so this is really important to know, because if we want to change the narration correctly, that speech reports consist of two parts. Okay, so one part is called reporting clause, and the another one is reported clause. So reporting clause is William said to me. This part is called reporting clause. So how to identify that reporting clause in the direct narration? In direct narration, it is easy to find out that the part which is out of the outside, which remains outside of the inverted comma, that part is reporting clause, and the part within the inverted comma is the reported clause. Okay, so in reporting clause we need to know the we need to know what are the words, what are they called actually, their identity. So first of all, we get a verb, right? In the reporting clause, we would always get a verb, and that verb is called reporting verb. As it is a reporting clause, so this verb is called reporting verb, and this subject, as it is the subject of this verb, so this subject is called the reporting subject, or the subject of the reporting verb. And sometimes we may get an object of the verb. In that case, we will count it as the object of the reporting verb or object of the reporting clause. So you need to remember one thing, that is the verb say actually doesn't take any object. So to do the narration change, we temporarily will call this me, and we'll call it an object, but this is actually cannot be called object in the true sense of grammar, because it is it begins with a preposition to. Okay, so this is called actually a prepositional phrase. So say it basically don't take an object, but for the sake of narration change, we will just call it an object for now. Okay, so this is the reported clause. Okay, so this is the direct narration actually. So this is how we differentiate the reporting clause and reported clause in direct narration. And when it is in indirect narration, so again this is the reporting clause. Okay, reporting verb, you get your reporting verb and the subject of the reporting verb, and that he had the package for us. This part is reported clause. Okay, so moving on to the next point. So differences between direct and indirect speech. So there are some differences, so let's talk about them. Suppose this is an example. William said, comma, I need your help, okay, within the inverted comma, and the indirect speech is William said that he needed my help. The first the characteristics of direct speech, you can say first characteristics, one of the characteristics is speaker's words must be in inverted comma. Okay, so see, this is the speaker's exact words, I need your help. So this is in inverted, this is within the inverted comma. So we should always use inverted comma around the exact words of the speaker in the direct narration. Okay, so next is first letter inside inverted comma must be in uppercase. So this particular characteristic has a variation. I'll show it to you later, but for now just look at here that the first letter I, okay, this is the first letter within the inverted comma, so this I is in capital. So this is the basic rule. You have to remember that the first letter of the inside the inverted comma must be in uppercase. So there is a variation or exception to it. I will show it to you later. Sorry. Then a reporting clause must be separated from the reported clause by a comma. Okay, so see, this is our, we know already that this is our reporting clause and this is our reported clause, and see, here is a comma. This comma is important. Okay, reporting clause can come at the beginning or come before. I mean, it can come before the reported clause, it can come after the reported clause, it can come inside the reported clause, that means in between. Okay, we can divide the reported clause into two parts and we can put the reporting clause in between them. So wherever the position is, we need to separate reporting clause with commas. Okay, how to do that I will show it to you later. Just for now remember this. Okay, so next, indirect speech. So the most important characteristics of important indirect speech is there is no inverted comma. Okay, we don't need to use any inverted commas in indirect speech. And then this is the most important thing when we will try to change the narration. 3 changes are to be made. Okay, we need to change 3 things when we are changing a direct narration into an indirect narration. We need to change person, we need to change verb, backshift. That means, what is backshift, verb backshift, I will explain it to you later. So I mean, actually it means that we need to change the form of the verb or tense of the verb, whatever it is. Some would say tense change, some would say verb change. Basically it is called backshift. Okay, so why it is called backshift and how it is done, I will explain to you later. So the next one is adverb of time and place. So there are some adverb of time and place. We will get those in the sentences of direct narration, and we need also to change them, okay, when we change the direct into indirect. Okay, so today this is our last point, that position of a reporting clause. Okay, so that's what I talked to you about earlier. So now see how a reporting clause can be positioned in a sentence. Okay, it can be positioned into three ways, and how to use the comma. A reporting clause can be used at the beginning, okay, or middle or end of a direct speech. Okay, so let's see first. He asked, this is our reporting clause, do you want a cake? Reported clause. So reporting clause, when the reporting clause will be at the beginning of the direct narration, we need to use a comma after the reporting clause. Okay, after the reporting clause, when it is used at the beginning. Okay, so next one, look at the next example. Let's go to the cinema he said. So see here, reporting clause has come at the end of the sentence. Okay, so in that case the comma is here. Okay, and there is also other variations of this, because let's go to the cinema. This is an imperative sentence. So for imperative and assertive sentences and optative sentences, so for this kind of sentences we can do this. Okay, we can use comma instead of full stop after these types of sentences, and then we can write the reporting clause. But when it is an interrogative or an exclamatory sentence, in those cases we cannot use comma, because interrogative sentences has a particular punctuation mark, interrogation sign, and an exclamatory sentence is an exclamation sign at the end of the sentence. So in those cases we need to use those punctuation marks. We cannot change them into comma. It is applicable for full stop. So when there is a full stop at the end of a sentence, in that case we can use a comma if the direct narration is used at the beginning, and reported clause comes at the beginning and reporting clause comes at the end. In that case we can use comma for the sentences like assertive, optative, and imperative. Okay, so the next look at the next sentence. If you come to London, this is our reported clause. Then see, she said, this is our reporting clause, and then another part, then call me. Okay, so please pay attention here that the whole reported clause is, if you come to London then call me. This is the whole reported clause, but we divide it into two parts and we place the reporting clause in the middle. Okay, so now what happens, we use a comma at the beginning at the end of the first part of the reported clause, then we write the reporting clause, and then we use a comma again, and then we write the next part of the reported clause. Okay, so there is one other thing that I told you earlier also. Look at this one, that here if the I of if, as this is the first letter, it is in capital letter, it is in uppercase, but here in this part the beginning letter is T, which is not in capital letters, because this is a single sentence. Okay, we divided a single sentence into two parts. When we divide a single sentence into two parts, then the later part, the beginning of the letter of the later part will not be in uppercase. We don't need to write it in uppercase. Okay, so remember that if we divide a single sentence into two parts, put the reporting clause in the middle. In that case, the beginning letter of the second part will not be in capital letter. Okay, but look at the next example. If it is not the case, next example, I am tired. Okay, comma, she said, reporting clause, comma, and then let's stay at home. Okay, finish. Now look at here, I am tired. I am tired is in uppercase, and also let's stay at home, here L is also in capital letter of uppercase. Why is that? Because I'm tired and let's stay at home, this is these are two sentences, but they are both in the reported clause. Okay, they both consist in the reported clause. Okay, but as they are two different sentences, that's why both of the sentences, both of the letters of the two parts are in uppercase. So these important things you have to remember, because narration basically is used in writing. So when you are using in writing, when you are using direct narration in writing, so you should be very careful about this particular section I have just discussed. Okay, so this is all for today's. Hopefully see you in the hopefully see you in the next class. Till then, goodbye, be safe, be happy.